I've always been the curious type, the kind of person who can't leave well enough alone. This trait has led me to some interesting discoveries, but it's also gotten me into a lot of trouble. My friends often joke that my curiosity will be the death of me one day. Despite my inquisitive nature, I have a deep-seated fear of the dark. It sounds childish, I know, but I can't help it. The darkness makes me feel vulnerable, like anything could happen, and I wouldn't see it coming. It's a fear that has plagued me since childhood. One evening, I was home alone, working on a project for my job. My apartment was quiet, save for the soft hum of my laptop. As I was deep into my work, the power suddenly went out. The screen of my laptop went black, plunging the room into complete darkness. I felt my heart rate spike, but I tried to calm myself. Power outages happen, especially in an old building like mine. I grabbed my phone to use as a flashlight and made my way to the breaker box in the hallway. That's when I noticed something strange. The hallway felt unusually cold, and I could see my breath misting in the air. I shone my phone's flashlight around, trying to find the source of the chill, but everything seemed normal. I reset the breaker, and the lights flickered back on. Relieved, I returned to my desk, but I couldn't shake the uneasy feeling that had settled in the pit of my stomach. As I sat down, I heard a faint tapping sound coming from the window. I turned slowly, dreading what I might see, but there was nothing there. Just as I was about to dismiss it as my imagination, the tapping started again, louder this time. I got up and walked over to the window, my heart pounding in my chest. I pulled back the curtain and screamed. There was a man standing just outside, staring directly at me. Before I could react, he smashed the window and started climbing through. I stumbled backward, scrambling for something to defend myself with. I grabbed a heavy lamp and swung it at him, hitting him squarely in the head. He fell back, momentarily stunned. I ran to my neighbor's apartment and pounded on the door until they let me in. We called the police, who arrived within minutes. They searched my apartment and the surrounding area, but found no sign of the intruder. The broken window was the only evidence that he had been there at all. The police took my statement and assured me they would patrol the area more frequently. They also suggested I stay with a friend for a few days while they investigated. I took their advice and left, too shaken to spend another night alone in my apartment. A few days later, the police informed me that they had caught the man. He was a known criminal with a history of breaking and entering. They found him hiding in a nearby abandoned building. Despite the relief I felt, I couldn't shake the fear that had taken hold of me. I moved to a new apartment in a different part of the city, hoping to leave the nightmare behind. But every time I hear a tap at the window or a creak in the floorboards, I'm reminded of that night. The fear never really goes away. Even though the intruder is behind bars, the experience left a permanent scar. It's a reminder that sometimes, the things we fear most can become all too real. Stay vigilant, trust your instincts, and remember, evil can lurk just outside your window. Thank you for listening to my story. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe. And if you have any real-life experiences you'd like to share, leave them in the comments below. Who knows? Your story might be the next one I tell. Until then, stay safe. I've always been a bit of a procrastinator, someone who puts things off until the last minute. It's a habit that has caused me a lot of stress over the years. I often find myself rushing to get things done, leaving important tasks unattended. Despite my laid-back attitude, I have a deep fear of being unprepared. The idea of facing a dangerous situation without the necessary tools or knowledge terrifies me. Little did I know my procrastination would put me in such a situation. One afternoon, I was home alone, catching up on some work I had been putting off. My housemates were out for the day, and I enjoyed the peace and quiet. I was so focused on my work that I didn't notice the sun setting outside. The house grew dark, but I didn't bother to turn on the lights. As I was finishing up, I heard a strange noise coming from the basement. It sounded like something heavy being dragged across the floor. I felt a chill run down my spine, but I tried to convince myself it was just the house settling. I decided to check it out, grabbing a flashlight from the drawer. As I made my way to the basement, the noise grew louder. My heart pounded in my chest, but I kept going, determined to figure out what was causing the sound. I reached the basement door and slowly opened it, shining the flashlight down the stairs. The beam of light cut through the darkness, revealing a mess of old furniture and boxes. But then I saw it, a figure standing at the bottom of the stairs staring up at me. I froze, my mind racing. The figure moved slowly towards me, and I realized it was a man, covered in dirt and grime. He looked like he had been living down there for weeks. I screamed and ran back up the stairs, slamming the door behind me. I grabbed my phone and dialed 911, my hands shaking. The operator told me to stay on the line and lock myself in a room. I ran to my bedroom and locked the door, listening for any sounds of the man following me. My heart pounded in my ears as I waited for the police to arrive. The police arrived quickly and searched the basement. They found the man hiding behind a pile of boxes. He was arrested and taken away, and the police questioned me about what had happened. I told them everything, still in shock. The man turned out to be a homeless person who had been squatting in our basement for weeks. He had found a way in through a broken window we had been meaning to fix but kept putting off. The police assured me that he wouldn't be back, but the experience left me shaken. We fixed the window and installed new locks, hoping to feel safe again. But every time I went into the basement, I felt a lingering sense of dread. I couldn't believe that someone had been living down there without us knowing. The experience taught me a valuable lesson about the dangers of procrastination. I started taking security more seriously, making sure everything was locked and secure before going to bed. But the fear never completely went away. Even though the intruder was gone, the memory of that night stayed with me. It's a reminder that sometimes the dangers we face are the result of our own actions. Stay vigilant, trust your instincts, and never let your guard down. Thank you for listening to my story. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe. And if you have any real-life experiences you'd like to share, leave them in the comments below. Who knows? Your story might be the next one I tell. Until then, stay safe. I've always been overly trusting, the kind of person who believes in the good in everyone. My friends say I'm too naive for my own good, always willing to give people the benefit of the doubt. It's a trait that has put me in some dangerous situations. Despite my trust in others, I've always had a fear of being caught off guard. The idea of someone taking advantage of my trust terrifies me. I never thought this fear would become a reality in the place I felt safest. One quiet evening, I was home alone reading a book. My roommate was out of town for the weekend, and I was looking forward to some peaceful solitude. Just as I was getting engrossed in the story, there was a knock at the door. I wasn't expecting anyone, so it startled me. I got up and peered through the peephole. There was a man standing there, looking anxious. He claimed his car had broken down and asked if he could use my phone to call for help. My instincts told me to be cautious, but my trusting nature took over. I opened the door just a crack and handed him my phone. He seemed grateful and stepped back, making the call. I watched him closely, ready to slam the door if something felt off. After a few minutes, he handed the phone back and thanked me. I closed the door, but something about the interaction didn't sit right with me. I decided to keep an eye out, just in case. As I was locking the door, I noticed something strange. A shadow moving outside the window. My heart skipped a beat. Before I could react, the door burst open, and the man lunged at me. He had used the phone call as a ruse to unlock the door. I screamed and tried to push him away, but he was too strong. He grabbed me and threw me to the floor. I fought back with everything I had, kicking and clawing at him. I managed to break free and ran to the kitchen, grabbing a knife from the counter. He followed me, but I was ready. I slashed at him, and he stumbled back, giving me a chance to escape. I ran to my neighbor's apartment, screaming for help. They let me in and called the police. The man fled, but the police arrived quickly and started searching the area. They found him hiding in a nearby alley, injured, and trying to escape. The police took my statement and assured me that I had done the right thing by fighting back. They praised my quick thinking and told me that my actions had likely saved my life. Despite their reassurances, I couldn't shake the fear that had taken hold of me. The man was arrested and charged with attempted assault and breaking and entering. I had to testify against him in court, which was terrifying, but necessary. Seeing him sentenced to prison brought some closure, but the fear remained. I moved to a new apartment and installed extra security measures, hoping to feel safe again. But every time I hear a knock at the door, my heart races, and I'm reminded of that night. The fear never truly goes away. Even though my attacker is behind bars, the experience left a lasting impact. It's a reminder that sometimes the people we trust can turn out to be dangerous. Stay vigilant, trust your instincts, and never let your guard down. Thank you for listening to my story. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe. And if you have any real-life experiences you'd like to share, leave them in the comments below. Who knows, your story might be the next one I tell. Until then, stay safe.